Okay, good afternoon everyone. We're here for the final session in the lower Act 2, which is in-house content creation and the growth of OTT. I'd like to invite our speakers up on stage. Sean Foley, VP of Sports and Media for the Raptor Group. Amy Lee, Senior Director for Global Media Distribution, EMEA, for the NBA. And Gareth Capon from the CEO of Grabyo. And to moderate today's session, we have Carla DeMarcus from deltatre.
Hi everybody, thank you Nick, and it's the last panel of the event, so I'm happy that you're still here. That's great news. Maybe because the speakers are quite high level and the content seems quite good, everybody told me. So you can imagine NBA is her, it's not him. So just because we're becoming 30, we did a special edition of the Champions League final ball. So just give you the ball, you tell me who you are again, and maybe quickly and your background, and then you pass the ball, please.
Sure. My name is Sean Foley. I've been working for the Raptor Group for about 5 years. The Raptor Group is an investment company chaired by Jim Pallotta.
In Italiano we say pallotta.
Pallotta.
Sorry.
And Mr. Pallotta is the owner and president of AS Roma. He became the first foreign owner of an Italian football club in 2012. He is also a minority owner of the Boston Celtics in the NBA. And at Raptor, we are very active in early stage media technology investing. And we have the benefit of working with the NBA and the Celtics in particular, as well as AS Roma in terms of trialing some of the technologies and the media platforms that we may have an interest in, financial or otherwise. So we sit at a fairly interesting intersection. And then I also, from an operational standpoint, oversee the business of global media for the club, which is why I'm up here on the panel.
Thanks, Sean. Gareth Capon, I'm the CEO of Grabyo. For those of you that don't know the company, we are a sort of 2.5-year-old startup based here in London. Grabyo is a social video business, so we help a number of broadcasters, the rights holders, everyone from La Liga to Wimbledon, most recently a pilot with Sean's company in AS Roma, to distribute and monetize video across a number of social and digital platforms. The big focus for us is helping rights holders get content into social platforms when conversations are happening, so it's in real time. We distribute content natively across Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, more recently to Instagram, and also to traditional websites, mobile applications, etc. for those content owners. So from our perspective, our interest here is not so much on the rights and ownership side, but more about how you use content to engage fans, to drive distribution, but ultimately to create new business models, new revenue monetization models for the owners of that content.
Hi, I'm Amy Lee from the NBA. I'm looking after media distribution across Europe. I'm not sure if you're aware that we actually have an office here in London with about 50 staff. So we have a media distribution team of about 10 people now. So it's quite a big operation. I'm sure we'll go into a little bit more detail on that.
Yeah. And I promise only to the 3 best panelists I will give you a ball if you want to bring along one. I'm Carlo De Marchi, Chief Product and Marketing Officer at deltatre. deltatre, 30 years old company, always been in the sport business. First with the broadcast and data angle, now digital, mobile, social. I think I want to start maybe with Amy, just to clarify what is the rights situation, how you're selling rights, are you executing rights, how are you distributing your content broadly, globally?
We split our rights, our territories into US and international primarily. The league actually distributes the rights internationally, so we don't have a team, a league and a team kind of problem, not problem, but the situation that football is set up. We actually control all the commercial rights essentially. So we have an office here in London, a team of 10 distributing media rights across the NBA. We have an office in Hong Kong doing the same for APAC, and a really big office in China doing the same for Chinese territories, Latin America. They're based in New York, but there's also a dedicated team to distribute media rights across Latin America. So we have all the rights, all the live games, highlights, social media content, any kind of off the court behind the scenes, off the court content. We actually produce all of them ourselves, and we distribute all of them ourselves.
Okay, I can imagine so are we talking about AS Roma mainly? So a football club, you originally, obviously you're in a different situation from a league that owns, especially an American league, that owns basically kind of everything, and then decide, by the way, very lean compared to European Federation, how to evolve the situation with rights and direct access to fans, etc. At Roma, I think is it fair to say that you start with 0 rights, or no? No, because the Serie A will give you rights, Champions League will give you some rights. Can you start from there and then expand on what you then have to create yourself?
Yeah, so, well, as far as Serie A goes, it's just been since 2010 that the existing collective media rights have been sold in its current form at the league level. Essentially what happens is Infront is engaged as the media rights consultant for the league. They manage the tender for both the domestic and the international live rights for the league. How that breaks down is inside of Italy, there's a shared scenario across Mediaset and Sky Italia and Rai, the state broadcaster. Internationally, from 15 to 18, MP Silva is the exclusive distributor of our live in-season live matches. And MP Silva interfaces then with the different broadcasters across the world.
And what is given to you as rights to execute directly?
The embargoes on our matches are not very long. So we have the right domestically to replay our matches as soon as the match is over. So which makes our team channel a bit more relevant than say some of the team channels that are going on in the NBA. Internationally, it's 24 hours, so you can imagine that some of our Asian fans, when they wake, if a match is in the middle of the night in Asia, they wake up, our channel and our platforms can actually be somewhat relevant on an almost live basis. And one interesting anecdote is that I believe AC Milan was the first team or club in the world to have their own channel.
Milan channel, we call it in Italian. So, going to Gareth, from you, obviously, at the moment you don't buy rights, right?
Not currently, no.
So can you expand a bit more on what was the original idea of Grabyo and how this, maybe start with the original idea, what exactly you were doing at the start. I know now it's a bit evolving, but.
Sure, I think that when we started off, the original thesis was that there's a lot of content happening live. People want to engage in this content in a social environment, probably natively on that social environment, i.e. The video players on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, etc. And for that to happen, you need to get the content out when the action's happening, i.e. how do you take a live TV broadcast, essentially, and turn it into a 20-second or 30-second clip on Twitter or Facebook that appears 30 seconds after that action's happened on set TV. That was the first iteration of what Grabyo was as a software platform. What's emerged and what's developed beyond that?
Stop there. We go farther on in the panel. Now back to Amy. Just to clarify, because we had a discussion at the beginning, in-house content means, do we agree on what in-house content is? No, we don't. Okay. I would define it as the traditional content that you would have produced from the host broadcaster is the live game plus, say, the highlight, and maybe, I don't know, the conference at the end, the press conference. Everything that is beyond that, it means someone in-house has created for a league, and that's where maybe I want Amy to go next. It depends on what the league strategy is. By OTT, and that's why also Gareth is, I think, relevant in this panel, we don't mean just over-the-top devices for big screen, but we mean every form a video that is not the linear TV. So we mean, obviously, anything works in website, as apps, but also on whatever device today, is Apple TV, Chromecast, Roku, connected TV, anything like that, Xbox and PlayStation. So obviously, multiple platforms that are now available that have changed a bit the landscape, I would say. So Amy, apart from the live game and maybe the highlights, which I would expect is if I buy rights, that's the minimum you have to give. What content are you producing? Because I know you're producing a lot of content.
So we're, apart from the live games, which we have about 1,300 games a season, which is... I
wasn't minimizing that, sorry.
It's equivalent to 3.5 Premier League game season, one season, so that's how many games we play. I'll just give you an example. We started NBA.com in 1995, and we ran our first video content in 2001. So we posted like highlights already in 2001 on our website. So, and then from there on, we launched our League Pass, which is an OTT product in 2006 in the US, and then it rolled out internationally the following year. So what it is a product where fans can watch every single game on a direct-to-consumer product, which is operated globally.
Everybody knows League Pass. Raise your hand if you don't know what League Pass is for NBA.
You'll need to get a subscription after this. Obviously, game highlights press conferences are pretty much standard nowadays, but in addition to that, we also produce a lot of so-called social media platform-friendly content, fun content that we use to attract newer fan base, draw the casual fans to become more core fans, get those people who are interested in the NBA lifestyle, the music, and all the other elements that are associated with the brand, to become interested in basketball. Maybe we can show a video of
which one?
Gareth Bale.
Yeah, thank you. I love this video. Gareth Bale, can you please show the video? Thank you. Not that Gareth Bale is really showing the video. The video is
If I were to challenge anyone to a half-court challenge, it would be Luka Modric and Lewis Hamilton.
He's definitely a very handsome man, but I think he looked really funny in a basketball outfit. Was something wrong, the size, or I don't know, or the headband?
He definitely looks different. So we created a series called a Half-Court Challenge. We invited celebrities, high-profile athletes to take on the challenge to shoot the ball from half-court. I think every one of you here should try and see how many you can score out of 5, and it's actually really, really difficult. So we created this series. We have 10 episodes of these on social media platforms, on YouTube, Facebook, etc., and we've generated a total of 16 million views across the 10 videos. So other sports stars who participated include like Lewis Hamilton, Andy Murray. So these are the new content that we create to engage fans in a different way. We also have other contents that we produce to put on social media, which we then use that to direct the viewers to go back to like the TV viewing experience as well.
Sorry, Sean. Maybe before going to the new platforms, tell me a bit about the Roma channel. Where is it? I saw it sometimes, but I'm not clear myself where it is distributed. If you have deals, if you do it yourself.
Yeah, so we, when Mr. Pilata took the club over in 2012, we inherited Roma Channel, which is a standard definition channel that was pretty traditional in what they produced, and it was on a premium tier available as a la carte subscription on Sky Italia's platform. In 2014, we relaunched Roma Channel as Roma TV, and that is available to all 4.5 million Sky Italia subscribers. Now everything is in high definition. I know that most of us are like, well, yeah, high definition, everybody. But for us, that was a big deal when we transitioned over in 2014, and that's available. We average about 60,000 viewers a night. We peak with some of our high-profile match replays, like when we played Barcelona or Real Madrid in the Champions League. This year would peak at 200,000 or 300,000 viewers. So we actually, from a per capita standpoint, that's actually really strong, we think, inside of Italy. And we produce about 5 hours of original programming a day for that platform. And we produce, we actually have 40 programs that we produce regularly across all of the platforms that we control.
Yeah, but that's available in Italy and on the Sky platform. You don't have it available outside of Italy.
It is available on our Omnigon developed website, direct to consumer.
Okay.
We have a video partner that worked with us in Omnigon called SportsPro, who has done a really nice job for us, and we have a live simulcast of the Italian channel as is, available outside of Italy, and then we produce about between 5 and 10 on-demand videos a day to complement the simulcast.
That's like a traditional broadcast production. So people in the studio, or
yeah, the VOD. It's we call it right now it's institutional content, meaning highlights, synthesized versions of the matches, goals.
Okay.
You know, just kind of really specific to the pitch, where we get more lifestyle oriented with our content across some of our international and third-party digital platforms that we produce for.
And Gareth, can you now go more into where you are today, and especially which platform you're focusing on, and why you have to do something special for these platforms?
Yeah, there's probably two parts to that answer. One is around what type of content you create, which I think is what we've been talking about here, and then which platforms you're creating it for and who you're creating it for on those platforms. So if I take the first one, you take the example of a football club. You know, we work with a number of clubs in the Premier League and in Spain, and one of the things which is interesting is that there is actually a lot of content within a football club which sits outside of the traditional rights window, i.e. the 90 minutes of the game isn't everything that a fan wants from a club. You know, we work with, and for us it's being a real-time platform is how do you use the capabilities of our platform to make that work for the club itself. You look at our work with Chelsea Football Club or Southampton or Liverpool and Arsenal in the past, very simple things like guys coming out to warm up on the pitch at 2:45 on a Saturday afternoon has a huge amount of value on social media for that 15-minute period and drops off entirely at the time that the game starts. And so you can actually, providing platforms which enable you to distribute that content in that format, starts to create new assets which you didn't have access to before. That's one example. The second thing is allowing clubs to start to take control of content that they own in a way that they didn't have before. A press conference would be a great example. In the past, a broadcaster or one of the newspapers would be the first to release information from a press conference, or it would be a tweet from somebody that's sitting there with a phone. Now, if people work with Grabyo, they can take a 30-second or a minute version of that press conference, have that out on their own social and digital platforms immediately.
I think you have an example from our host here, if I remember well, recently, no?
That's right, yeah. So we did some work with the FA around the England team getting announced last week, and then also the kit launch for the FA. So sort of two pieces in there. There's a piece around FA taking ownership of their content and being first to distribute content from Roy Hodgson at the time, but also with partners in terms of the kit launch. There's actually incremental sponsorship value there as well. So I think for us, we moved from focusing entirely sort of on live and probably traditional broadcast live when we started to any live feed, any actually sort of VOD and VOD asset now that you might want to repurpose for these platforms too, whether you're creating a square video for Instagram or a vertical video for Snapchat, whatever it might be, but also thinking about, and a mobile platform too, you can create and edit content on our phone within our mobile application now. So what's changed, I think, is not only the volume of content you need to create has gone up, the number of places you want to put it is also increased, and each of those platforms is subtly different. So you need to start to repurpose content or create specific content for each of those platforms, which is quite a challenge for many people.
And why? So basically, the way I would describe you, at the beginning you were simulcast to social in several real time, near real time. Now what you're saying, I just have the doubt, why shouldn't I use Periscope or Facebook to do what you were describing before? Because of the, okay, if I do Periscope, I'm on Periscope, is that the reason to use Grabyo or?
Well, I think there's an important distinction here between a true live experience. Periscope and Facebook currently are mobile shot live video experiences, which is different than taking a real production broadcast and either putting it live or taking clips from that. But also there's a big difference between, you look at Facebook's announced stats in the last couple of weeks. The reason that they're promoting live, i.e. the actual live experience on their platform, is because they get 3 or 4 times more engagement when that video is watched live, even if it's shot from a phone, than they do when somebody's finished watching that broadcast and it's a bot asset on the platform. What we're saying is actually there's probably a space for both. I'll give you an example that's not sport to make it relevant. If you take the Oscars, the red carpet of the Oscars, it's great and interesting when you're watching that live on Facebook, and you might watch that shot from a phone. But if you went back to watch 30 minutes of the red carpet shot from a phone when you didn't know Justin Bieber's getting out of the car, it's pretty dull, it's not very interesting content. But the 10 seconds of Justin Bieber taken out of that broadcast and put out as another asset on the platform actually has lots of value. So there's always a combination between what that experience is and how you create that content, and ultimately we set up our platform to try and make that a lot simpler and faster.
I can imagine the list is long, but on which platform is NBA active now in terms of social and every? I don't know.
We are very active on a lot of different platforms. We actually have an aggregate of 1 billion followers across Facebook, Twitter, even on Chinese-specific social media platforms like Tencent and Weibo, WeChat, all of those. So we're probably on about 15 platforms.
And how much? Because maybe where I want to move on is now, okay, as Gareth says, there are now many platforms, and the people on those platforms are different. The tone of voice is different, and more the way you produce the content, you design the content, it is different. So do you have examples of content that you create specific for maybe one platform but doesn't work on the others?
We have, the half-court challenge is something that we actually started in Europe to use football, the power of football really. That's kind of how it started. And then that's really Facebook specific. And that's pretty much where our primary focus is on. We focus on Facebook because in terms of video content, we're very strong there. And then we recently also did a deal with Verizon in the US for mobile specific content, and which also has a sponsorship element to it. Through that, we actually learned that we need to create mobile specific content. What that means is, if you imagine watching a studio show, for example, you always start with like a studio wide shot. Whereas we've learned that in mobile content, you need to get your audience in the first 3 seconds. If you don't get them in the first 3 seconds, you lose them. So you need to start with maybe a zoom-in shot or something like that. We have a video clip here. We've got a presenter talking about like Steph Curry. Maybe we can just show the first couple of seconds of that.
What is the code name?
It's the other Steph Curry one with the American presenter.
Who's Steph Curry?
Hi there, I'm Bo Estes of NBA TV with exclusive content for your Go90 app. Since the start of the season, the talk of the league has been the astounding play of Golden State's defending league MVPs.
Thank you.
So we have to produce it, which we feel that it's a lot more. We have higher engagement rate producing clips that you get a headshot really early on to get people's attention. The engagement rate will be 3 times higher on Facebook, for example. On Snapchat, what we've learned as well is like you have to create content that's like vertically formatted. So those content are vertically formatted. We get like 9 times as much views as the ones that are horizontally formatted. So in the beginning, we actually used a lot of content that we produced for TV, for YouTube, to repurpose it for mobile. We slowly learned that it actually doesn't work. So we had to actually produce it differently, use different camera angles, etc.
Sean, but before that, sorry, basketball maybe should be produced vertically. No? Maybe. I just need to rotate my TV at home. Sean, please.
I was just gonna follow what Amy said about kind of platform optimized content. We did a deal with Maker Studios, Disney-owned Maker Studios, short form content factory. It's effectively an agency for YouTube stars. Gives them all the tools they need to create all these funny videos that millennials react to. And we have experienced a considerable amount of success by bringing Italian YouTube stars into our videos. And so it's kind of a win-win scenario where these YouTube stars, who every time they put kind of one of these goofy videos out there, they get 500,000 views, 1 million views. Real Madrid doesn't get 1 million views for every YouTube video that they put out. So, for example, but so what we did is we started inviting some of these YouTube stars up to Trigoria, which is where our training complex is outside of Rome. And they are so happy to meet Francesco Totti, and it's this mutually beneficial situation where we co-produce some content, and we need to be very careful because these guys aren't concerned about brand protection, their brand protection. The crazier they get, the better it is for them. So you have to walk that fine line. But we see 10 to 20x lift in the video views that we're getting. If a typical video that we just kind of put out on YouTube, let's say we get between 50 and 100,000 views, we see between 500,000 and 1 million on YouTube when we include some of these pranksters and tricksters and kind of all that stuff.
I think you went even further with your strategy. Maybe expand briefly on the concept of crowdsourcing. So you're not only doing in-house content, you're crowdsourcing it. The way you involve fans and.
We are. So across all of our social media platforms and our website, we encourage fans. Our fans are just as or more creative than the people we employ. And that's from artists and painters and writers. So we have fan writers that contribute to our website. We have fan artists who contribute to our Instagram page. We have, and then on the video side, we're about to launch with Maker essentially a network. So if you're a content creator and you create stuff around Roma as it is anyway, be a part of our network. And you can enjoy many benefits. One is sharing of advertising. 2 is we get access to our stars, access to our training pitches and stuff, so you can create some more interesting videos. And again, vice versa. It's just we're effectively, I believe we're the first club, the only club, maybe not first, but the only club who actually we've launched a multi-channel network with Maker Studios involving all these different stars that create videos for a living.
And I saw Garrett saying, wow, when she said vertical video, so you have also something for that. Because obviously it's easy if I shoot it with the phone, okay, it's vertical, but otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, we've just released the product into Grabyo where, to make that process really simple. So in the past, obviously, everyone shoots everything in 16:9 in horizontal format. We used to, all TV has been in horizontal format. So actually, taking a traditionally shot piece of video, which means it's likely to be shot horizontally unless someone's actually shot it using a mobile phone, was quite hard to turn. It's quite a high intense production process to do that. We just launched a product within Grabyo where you take your 16:9 clip. It might be from live, it might be from a VOD. You can put a vertical window into the clip, and then you can move that around using your mouse and follow the action. So you've taken a production process that used to be expensive and minutes or hours to do down to something that somebody can do on their laptop with a Wi-Fi connection in 30 seconds. So that's the sort of an example of what we're trying to do as a business, is understanding the needs of the consumers on these different platforms. How do you create software technologies which support that and make it easy? Because otherwise, you're right, you not only have to increase the amount of content creators that you've got within your organization, but also the production capability to put the content on all of these different platforms in that way.
One thing that, I think there is as we start to uncover more and more in-house content, you see the richness and the opportunity in the channels, but also the complexity of it. I think a recent complexity is the big platforms not only basically taking kind of control of the experience and so on, but I'm thinking Snapchat Discover, if you're familiar, Apple News announced something similar, Facebook Instant Article is something similar, where basically it's not enough to create a video even with very intelligent ideas to make it more viewable, or also in silent mode, etc. But you need to create content on their platform, on their CMS, content management system. This is kind of so you cannot have centralized way of you create a video and then wherever it goes, it's a video. Discover is what do you call it, animated multimedia experience, so you need apart the skills to do it, and the tone of voice is very different. And how do you think organization like yours, Amy, can cope with that? For you it's easy, you put another 10 people doing it, I don't know. Do you think you will go that way, or a way that to see how it develops, or you're already doing it?
We have a lot of content, and the way that even going back to licensing TV rights, we don't just sell everything and just warehouse it. We actually make sure that every piece of content that we license is used. So in terms of social media or any of the other platforms, we will actually use the same sort of principle. We want to put content out there to make sure that they're in the right place, in the right home, and it reaches the audience that we want to reach. So I don't think we see it as a threat that we need to sort of gateway and not put the content on the platforms. But and don't forget, it's not just our own platforms; it's also our TV partners' platforms as well. That's an extension of what we do too. Is that we provide content for our broadcast partners, for them to use some of these content on their own social media platforms, because they reach the audience to a more local level. They localize the content, we rely on them to localize the content. We can expect everybody in the world to speak English, so they offer that additional value that we cannot do ourselves. So overall, I think if we see it's a good opportunity and we see it's the right platform for the right kind of content, then we will have it on there. And if we see a platform that we don't have content that's suitable, then we'll go and create it.
Sean, in your case, would you see a problem if you have then now to create content for Apple News, Facebook Instant Article, and when they open up Snapchat Discover directly on their platform, maybe with editing on their platform, will be there just more cost, or do you think it's something you want to wait to do when it's more mature?
I think we're in a different position in the NBA, right? We're we've been at this kind of 2.0 Roma media world just since I guess 14, but we have been experimenting with all the different platforms, and I would say that when it comes to, and we've been on Snapchat, we've been on Vine, we've been on these different places, but we all kind of agree that if we're not doing something unique, if we're not doing something directly with Snapchat, on a non-retail kind of level, then we're not going to put a ton of resources toward it.
And do you think that this own CMS can be a threat for Grabyo, or you need to integrate at some point, if it's possible?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for us, we're obviously focused on video rather than those other components, but we integrate directly into the native experiences of each of those platforms. So if you take a single video on Grabyo and you publish it to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube, you're going to, as a Facebook consumer, as a user, you're going to see it's going to feel as if it's come directly from Facebook, and it's part of that experience, which is a core part of what we do within the platform. But I think the other thing that we sort of talked about earlier around, there's this difference at the moment. There's always going to be this challenge between where the money is. We talked about this at lunch, where the money exists and where the business models exist, and where the users are and where they spend their time. And it's quite clear in the world that we exist today, and when we talk about sport, the money is in television and is in TV rights, and it's really important to protect the value of those rights, but understand there's a lot of engagement and access and opportunity around all those other platforms, and the monetary opportunity and the business models are not as mature on any of these additional digital platforms. But actually, we talk a lot about social video to say, if you have an OTT service like the NBA does, social video is a wonderful mechanism to drive engagement and access into an OTT product where you make money, or drive consumers back to the TV where you have a traditional audience and traditional business model. Or importantly, if you take an example of the David Beckham catch at Wimbledon last year, that's a great example of a rights holder creating value out of existing broadcast rights, which don't have a huge amount of value in broadcast. That David Beckham catch, 12 seconds or whatever it was, may have turned up in some highlights packages on television, but was viewed 10 million plus times on social media. So that's a really interesting example of where you can now start to create new value out of existing rights packages, even though they're not necessarily traditional TV broadcast or linear rights that you go and sell.
Actually, to Gareth's point as well, we work really hard to use social media platforms to drive viewers back to the TV and viewing experience. So we would put out videos, interesting videos out there on our social media platforms like Facebook, for example, and we add like a tune-in end card to the video, so people are aware that like NBA is still available on television in your home, in your home country on the sports channel that is accessible to you.
And I want to deep dive a bit with Amy on how the OTT, if you want, more in big screen, or not big screen, I mean more for the live games, etc. So League Pass. But also, I understand, I think they're quite, maybe you're not unique, but you're very strong in this. They're offering League Pass globally, just to make it clear. At the same time, they're selling rights in many, if not all, territories. So I think, especially thinking football, I have been in so many discussions where everyone says, no, but we need to protect the broadcast rights. If you go direct to fans, that would jeopardize everything. Can you explain why for you it works well and why it doesn't jeopardize? What is the difference between, and why a fan goes to League Pass or goes to whatever broadcaster has the rights internationally?
We are broadcasting 215 countries in 49 different languages, and we can't do that on our own. There's just no simple way or economical way for us to do 49 different versions of NBA games broadcast around the world. So the broadcasters have been instrumental in building our brand locally, like I mentioned earlier. It's really important that we still engage with broadcasters to localize the NBA. That emotional connection that they use by using a presenter, a front man, the face of the NBA in Italy, for example. That's still really, really crucial and important to engage with people who don't speak really good English, for example, in a lot of countries. NBA League Pass is a product that we created because we know that there are a lot of people out there that don't get to watch every single game, because if you really think about it, we play 1,300 games a season. That's equivalent to like 3.5 football leagues, and you can't schedule every single game. I mean, you can't even schedule like an entire Bundesliga game live on a sports channel. So there's just a demand out there that someone wants to watch a Celtics game, and someone wants to watch a Denver game, and so the League Pass works well. It's an English product, so immediately there's a differentiation point there where it doesn't really quite compete with the broadcaster product, because it's one product that goes out to the whole world, and we don't plan to localize it. We have it in an English language product, and for really, really hardcore fans, they will subscribe to it, and because they want to be able to watch a game anytime if they're traveling. Or imagine, we all travel a lot for work, and you go to China and you want to watch a football game in English language. It just doesn't exist. So that's what our product does, is that you can still watch NBA games anywhere around the world as you like. So I think the key really is to it's really to segment the rights in the right way that suits what the broadcasters need. And we work very hard with them to localize the content, provide them resources, to maximize the impact on their channel. But League Pass exists as a product on the side, which is the next step in the fan journey.
Did you find any resistance by broadcasters to accept that? Or, I mean, because you're NBA, they say, yes, thank you.
Is any broadcaster in the audience that want to answer that question, perhaps?
Because so kind of really personal point of view, I'm using Apple TV at home, and I imagine I go there and there's the NBA app, and that's what I use, right? I understand that if you want to this global view of media distribution, localizing, for example, if you take Olympics, and NBA is fine because it's American, and maybe even if it's English, it makes me feel more American when I'm watching it. Obviously, very often we forget that moving from sport to sport, things are changing. If I think the Olympics, and there is no story about my flag, apart from my heroes that are global, so whoever they are, long jumper, high jumper, whatever, but the flag is important. So I understand that if you want to limit to globalizing media, like if you want Netflix is doing an entertainment in some way, with original content especially, is the fact that you need your local story, right? It's not enough the technical solution is there, or Imagine is there, and in a world where, I mean, there are no channels, but there are apps, what do I need more than an NBA app? Why do I need someone else to make my life more complex? Because at the end, I think what the OTT solution can have compared to the current situation is it simplifies, it gives user choice. You have access to content whenever you want, but maybe you don't have the right story. And I think that the way you're doing it now is trying to cover giving access, if you want in a technical way, to all content, so you have reach defined, and then still leave if you want, the localizing of comment to the broadcaster of buying the rights.
You know, from my perspective, it's almost like segmenting it, like, so there's different viewing experiences, right? So the experience that somebody has with the League Pass is a singular one, usually, you know, unless you're at home with your smart TV and all of that. And that's for people who are traveling and all of that. You know, the deals that you do with broadcast, that's more, you know, those are more communal experiences for viewers, right? And so it's almost like you're segmenting viewer experiences by addressing the different ways that people are able to watch your games.
That's exactly right. And you need to be able to offer the different options for the different audience. And with OTT product, I think not just our League Pass, but our website and all the other social media platforms, I think they address like a really wide range of audience. And we have a lot of content to service all the different platforms.
Yeah, like through the 1980s, right? It was like, it's really simple. Like, you know, things were produced and, you know, distributed according to like, you know, one set of rules. And now people are consuming stuff in all different ways. And so it's like delivering different products and different experiences in those different ways that people are now experiencing video.
And I think also that we're in this multi-generational shift as well around consumption. So the first change was the technology available to make these experiences available on all different types of devices in any country, in any screen size, any type. But there is also an established model around behaviour and distribution, particularly with television. So people still watch in most countries, you know, more TV than any other form of media. So that's going to take a long time to change, but that is changing, and it is changing fast. And I think that's the bit that really fascinates us. And we look forward. You know, we talk a lot about, and we've done it today. We talk about social platforms, digital platforms, short form clips, sharing, engagement. You know, we look forward and we see social and digital platforms, you know, whether that's websites or apps. Or Facebook or Snapchat or anything else as a convergence of all types of video. That we know certainly our thesis around content is it is about the content. The screens are a component of consumption, which will come down to the individual viewer, given time, context, age, you know, how much you're willing to spend. These are the things which will drive consumption in the longer term. It may take 5, 10, 15 years for this transition to happen, but actually I think that the really interesting thing is we look back in 10 years' time, we're having a conversation about OTT, we'll be talking about television and content again, we'll be talking about rights, we'll be talking about distribution. We will have got away from this distinction between what TV and OTT is, because it's just going to be about video experiences.
But we're working on a project that at the moment we cannot announce for a big sport, vertical sport, global OTT platform. Our clients are off right holders and off broadcasters, so I obviously have to be neutral, but the fact that the sport itself produce an experience, I am sure it will be the best experience for that sport that exists. In terms of, they know the sport, they know the discovery mechanism, they know the consumption mechanism, they know what is valuable for them. And I'm not saying that broadcasters don't add value, but very often, because of bundling, the sport goes in a container that is built for maybe even entertainment, not even sport. And maybe if it's football and there are 2 games, okay, what is the discovery? This game, and then I'm in. For other sports with multiple live events, the discovery is and the personalization are important as the consumption. So I don't know if in the future there will be the OTT platform that allow more partnership level. Like I can imagine NBA having this platform that is one platform and broadcaster working on top of that. But I know this breaks the bundling mechanism, which is very important for broadcasters. So I don't know. So I won't ask what happens in 5 years because that's a stupid question. Sorry. Maybe you have better questions for them. Nick.
Hi. Well, I have 2 questions. One for her. It's not only about broadcasting, it's also about media rights. So if you try to enter in nba.com from here, you will go to Give Me a Sport. In Italy it will be La Gazzetta, or in Spain, as.com. How you are managing what is published in all these sites, because I cannot enter in nba.com from here. And the other question is for Rome. Due to Mohamed Salah, this season 50% of your traffic of your website comes from Egypt. What kind of, or 40 or something like that, what kind of digital strategy are you following to take advantage of that?
We actually operate 20 different versions of NBA.com around the world. They are actually country specific. So, for example, in Spain is a very good example, AS.com. We provide them with video content and the sort of basic editorial content. They localize it for us to create a Spanish version. What that does is they would create more content that are locally relevant, including more editorial, more stories about Spanish players. And we have 20 of those websites around the world operating in 15 odd languages, because we've got like Canada, New Zealand, they're all English, but they will have more editorial that suits the local market. And a lot of them is player focused. Here in this country, we work with Give Me Sport because they're just a fantastic website. They're giving us a lot of they're giving us a lot of local story as well, because we have a London game here. We have a lot of events around in the UK, so they give us a lot of editorial push for our event too. But that's the model that we run around the world. You can still go to NBA.com. You'd be initially sent to the local version. And then there's a tab that you can go back onto NBA.com, which will be the American site.
To address your question on Salah in Egypt in Arabic language, so it's funny. Our friends at Chelsea told us to expect that when Salah started playing for us, to expect a lot of Arabic language posts and comments across our social media. So we preempted that, and we brought on a consultant in Egypt to run an Arabic language specific Facebook page, which is our first step. Secondly, we're going to hire an Arabic language website editor. Right now we now do have 2 websites. We have an English language website editor and an Italian language website editor. The third is going to be Arabic. So to address that, it's localizing our content for the Arabic-speaking world.
One more question, if any. Okay, otherwise I have one question. So we talk about content a lot, even not only here but today a lot. And my friend from Tennis Federation told me, if you say content is king, you have to give me £10. So I didn't say it. I was just mentioning it now. So there's one thing that I don't understand. If in theory, I don't know if there are content people in the room, if I'm a content guy, whatever, I'm a content producer, I'm saying like, wow, this is great. I will have, in 3 months, I will have a job that pay me more, which is normally not a lot now. So they pay me twice what they pay me now. You think this is happening, or why is it not happening? I don't see like content people becoming rich at the moment in terms of role and everything. What is wrong? Because the human aspect of storytelling is crucial. We can do, data analytics insight, but if you don't have the human aspect of being a great storyteller, then the magic doesn't happen. Do you think content people would be happy in the next 1 to 3 years, or maybe just underpaid like now?
I think, from my standpoint, I think premium content will always have a place in sport and in entertainment, and so those people will be rewarded for their premium content creation activities. You know, on the other side, yeah, there is a democratization of content happening, right? And everybody's a producer, everybody's a storyteller, and yeah, not everybody can spend a lot of money for that.
There are winners and losers in this market, though, aren't there? I mean, if you look at, and Sean mentioned earlier about the relationship with Maker Studios, you know, there's PewDiePie and others in that environment who have made a significant amount of money from creating content in a completely non-traditional format, and so yeah, there are definitely opportunities to go and create significant amounts of new value in this market. I think BuzzFeed would be a comparison on the media side, laughed at as a stupid listicles company 3 years ago, and is now doing investigative journalism with the BBC. It's quite a significant shift. And one of the comments that I heard from a guy I know from BuzzFeed, he said, content is king, to your point, that that sharing is the new delivery van. And I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about the fact that actually in some of these environments, you've not just got to think about content, you've got to think about distribution and how actually the fans, the people consuming this content, may be a component part of the way that content gets distributed on these platforms.
I think one thing
Are you raising your salaries for content people or not?
I wish, but I think one thing that's very interesting is that now everybody can be a content creator and content owner, and if you do it right, you can really, you don't have to be running a sports league to make big money out of it. You mentioned PewDiePie, like I'm scared to know how much he actually makes, but I heard he's making a lot of money. So I think that creates a lot of opportunities for a lot of people.
So maybe it's unique voice and not only producing content but distributing it, being great at distributing the content you produce, maybe. Right?
But live's still important. Sport dominates live. Being able to aggregate large audiences of people into really passionate people is really valuable.
Yeah, and I expect a lot of innovation and creativity in live, especially because going digital, it's not only one channel. We can create 4 different channels of the same game. Maybe I can imagine 2 players doing the commentary in a little pop-up video or something like that, but still not doing it, or super rich data channel just for digital. That's with football, for example, where 10% of the fanatic audience that follow one of those channels, it's enough to do it, I think. So I think we have to wrap it up, or otherwise Nick will scold you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying so long at the end of the event, and thank you to SportsPro and Amy, Gareth, and Sean. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to our speakers today, and thank you to you all. Don't run off too quickly. Well, you can run off upstairs for drinks. Drinks are now being served. Thank you for everyone who has come over the past 2 days. I'd like to quickly thank the sponsors for the event: Eurovision, HOK, Stats, UKTI, and Ripcom. And keep the conversation going upstairs. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, man.